I never thought my own sister would be the person to betray me. Not after everything we survived together. Not after Grandma raised us like her own children when our parents were too busy chasing their own lives. Grandma wasn't just family, she was the foundation of everything good I ever knew. And the house she left behind wasn't just a building. It was her legacy. It was the last piece of her still standing in this world. When she passed away, the grief hit me like a slow wave that never stopped crashing. I didn't cry in public. I didn't collapse or scream. I just went quiet. Grandma's house sat empty for months after the funeral, waiting like a paused memory. I couldn't bring myself to go inside. Every room smelled like her. Every corner held a piece of her laughter. But legally, the house was mine. Grandma made that clear. The will said it plainly. The old two-story home, the land beneath it, and everything attached to it belonged to me. Not to be shared, not to be divided. Grandma had chosen me because, in her words, I was the one who always came back. My sister didn't like that. She smiled at the reading of the will, but her eyes were sharp. The kind of sharp that pretends to be harmless until it cuts you. It's what Grandma wanted, she said sweetly. But I could hear the bitterness underneath. At the time, I didn't worry. I wasn't thinking about inheritance disputes or betrayal. I was thinking about how empty the world felt without Grandma. So I did what I always did when life hurt too much. I stepped away. I threw myself into work. I stayed late. I avoided family dinners. I let weeks pass without returning calls. That was my mistake, because while I was grieving quietly, my sister was planning loudly. It started with little comments. You know, maintaining a house like that is expensive. It's just sitting there, wasting. Grandma would have wanted it used, not abandoned. I ignored her. Then she offered solutions. I could handle it for you. I could rent it out. I could manage everything so you don't have to. I said no, politely. It was still too soon. Then she stopped asking. And that's when I should have been scared. Months passed. I finally decided to visit the house. I needed closure. I needed to walk through the halls one last time and decide what to do. The morning I drove there, my chest felt tight. The sky was gray, like the world remembered too. But when I pulled onto the street, I froze. The house was different. The curtains were gone. The porch furniture was gone. The old wind chimes Grandma loved weren't hanging anymore. And there was a sign posted near the front gate. Sold. My breath stopped. I stared at it like it was a hallucination. Sold? No, that couldn't be right. I stepped out of the car, legs shaking. I walked closer, reading it again and again as if the letters might rearrange themselves into something less horrifying. But they didn't. Sold. I rushed to the front door and tried my key. The lock had been changed. My hands fumbled. I tried again. Nothing. Panic rose like fire. I knocked. No answer. I walked around back. The fence was new. The backyard looked trimmed, unfamiliar, cleaned of Grandma's wild garden. I felt like I was trespassing in my own life. My phone was already in my hand before I even realized it. I called my sister. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was calm, too calm. Oh, she said, you found out. My throat went dry. Found out what? I demanded. Why is there a sold sign on Grandma's house? She sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. I sold it, she said. The words didn't make sense. You, what? I sold it, she repeated. It was just sitting there. You weren't doing anything with it. My heart slammed. You had no right. She laughed. Oh please, don't act like you cared. You disappeared. I took care of it. Took care of it? My voice cracked. That house was mine. There was a pause. Then she said it, coldly. Not anymore. My hands shook so badly the phone almost slipped. How could you even sell it? It's not in your name. Another laugh. You'd be surprised what can be done when someone isn't paying attention. I felt sick. Undo it, I said. Fix this now. She clicked her tongue. It's done. Papers signed. Money transferred. It's over. My vision blurred. You stole from me. She snapped. Stole? I saved you from responsibility. Besides, her voice lowered, almost amused, you weren't even there when Grandma needed you at the end. That hit like poison. I whispered, don't you dare. But she was already finishing. Enjoy your memories. I'll enjoy the money. The line went dead. For a long moment, I just stood there in front of the locked door, staring at the house that no longer belonged to me. My hands were cold. My stomach twisted. And then something happened. Something very strange. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't collapse. I just smiled. Because my sister thought she'd won. But she had made one fatal mistake. Grandma didn't just leave me a house. She left me protection. And my sister had no idea what was about to happen next. I pulled out my phone again. Not to call her back, but to call my lawyer. And when he answered, I said only 6 words, "My sister sold my house." Quietly, there was silence. Then his voice hardened. "Are you sure?" I looked at the sold sign. "I'm standing in front of it." Another pause. Then, slowly, he said, "Don't move. I'm coming." That was the moment everything changed. Because my sister didn't just sell a house. She sold herself into a legal nightmare. And she didn't even realize the first domino had already fallen. The lawyer didn't just laugh. He leaned forward slowly, the way doctors do before delivering news that changes a life forever. "She didn't sell the house," he said quietly. I blinked. "What?" "She signed papers that looked like a sale." My throat tightened. "But those documents were never legally enforceable." My heart skipped. He slid a second folder across the desk. Inside were highlighted paragraphs, court references, ownership clauses. The home was placed in a protected inheritance trust, he explained. "Your grandmother did that before she passed." I stared. My grandmother had known. "She knew someone might try to take it," he continued. "So she made sure no one could sell it without your signature." My sister's smug message echoed in my head, "Sold Grandma's house. Thanks for not being there." I felt something cold settle behind my ribs. She thought she'd won. She thought I was powerless. I didn't even respond. I just whispered, "So what happens now?" My lawyer closed the folder. "Now," he said, "we let her finish digging." That night, I sat in my apartment with the lights off. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Family group chat. My sister was posting vague victory messages. "Some people don't deserve what they inherit. Hard work always wins." My parents reacted with hearts. Like proud spectators at a crime. I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I simply forwarded one email. To the trust's legal enforcement team. 3 words. "Proceed as planned." The next morning, my sister called. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "Why isn't the payment cleared?" I ignored it. Then, "The buyer is threatening to sue." "What did you do?" Still nothing. Then the voicemail came. Her voice was higher. Panicked. "Pick up, please. The house, something's wrong. They're saying the sale isn't valid." I stared at the screen. And for the first time, I smiled. By noon, chaos erupted. The buyer she bragged about wasn't some wealthy investor. It was a company linked to fraud investigations. The trust board flagged it immediately. The moment my sister attempted the transfer, it triggered an automatic legal freeze. Not only was the house protected, it exposed her actions as an attempted financial breach. My lawyer called me. "Your sister didn't just mess up," he said. "She committed something very serious." I swallowed. "How serious?" "Serious enough that the authorities may want to ask questions." That evening, my parents showed up at my door. For the first time in months. My father looked gray. My mother didn't even pretend to smile. "What did you do?" she demanded. I blinked innocently. "What do you mean?" "You know what we mean," Dad snapped. "The house deal is collapsing." I tilted my head. I thought I wasn't involved. My mother's voice cracked. She was trying to secure the family's future. I stepped forward, calm. She was trying to steal. Silence. Then Dad lowered his voice. "Just fix it. Sign whatever needs signing." I stared at him, and said the same words my sister had texted me. "Are you sure about that?" Their faces tightened. My lawyer arrived moments later, stepping into the hallway like a storm wearing a suit. He greeted them politely, then handed my sister's attempted sale contract to my father. "The trust has filed a formal complaint," he said. My father's hands shook. My mother whispered, "Complaint?" My lawyer nodded. "For fraudulent misrepresentation." Their mouths fell open. "She said she had full authority," he continued. "She didn't." I watched my parents crumble in real time. My father whispered, "We thought she was just handling paperwork." I said softly, "You thought I didn't matter." That night, my sister called again. This time I answered. Her voice exploded through the speaker. "What the hell did you do?" I stayed calm. "I didn't do anything. Don't lie," she screamed. "The buyer is suing me." The trust froze everything. Mom and Dad are furious. I let her breathe, then said quietly, "You sold something that wasn't yours." Silence. Then her voice softened. "Please." A single word. Begging. "I just needed the money," she whispered. I asked, "For what?" She hesitated. Then, "I have debt." My stomach turned. "How much?" $3 million. I went still. The sale wasn't greed. It was desperation. And she had dragged the entire family into her collapse. The next morning, she showed up. Not confident. Not smug. She looked like someone whose world was sliding off a cliff. She stood in my doorway, eyes red. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered. I stared. You meant to erase me. Her lips trembled. I thought you wouldn't fight back. I stepped aside and let her enter. Not because I forgave her, but because I wanted her to hear the truth. I was the one Grandma trusted, I said softly. Her head snapped up. What? I pulled out the letter. The one my grandmother had written. The one I never shared. I unfolded it carefully and read aloud. If you're reading this, it means someone tried to take what wasn't theirs. And it means my quiet grandchild finally had enough. My sister's face drained. She knew, she whispered. I nodded. She knew you'd try. Her knees almost buckled. She left the house to me, I continued. But she left the protection because she knew the family would treat it like a prize. My sister's voice broke. So what happens now? I looked at her and said, now you face what you started. She cried. My parents begged. Calls flooded in. Relatives suddenly remembered my name. But the trust board didn't care. The lawsuit moved forward. The investigation widened. And the house remained untouched. Still mine. Still protected. Still exactly where my grandmother left it. 2 weeks later, my sister called again. But this time, her voice wasn't angry. It was hollow. They're taking everything, she whispered. I didn't reply. They say if I cooperate, I might avoid prison. I stared out the window. She whispered. I thought selling Grandma's house would save me. I closed my eyes. It ended you. That night, I visited the house. The old porch. The creaking steps. The smell of cedar and dust. I stood in the silence. And whispered. Thank you. Not to my sister. Not to my parents. To the woman who saw everything coming. Grandma didn't leave me a house. She left me a weapon. And the moment my sister sold it, she sealed her own fate. The world didn't collapse for my sister all at once. It collapsed slowly, day by day, piece by piece, like a wall cracking from the inside until the entire thing finally fell. For the first time in her life, she couldn't talk her way out. She couldn't charm someone. She couldn't blame me, because the truth was written in ink, in signatures, in attempted transfers, in fraud reports, and most terrifying of all, in my grandmother's trust. The court date arrived faster than anyone expected. Not because I pushed it. Not because I demanded revenge. But because when money is involved, people move quickly. The buyer she worked with was under investigation already. Her attempted sale didn't just expose her. It exposed an entire financial chain. Suddenly, what she thought was a private betrayal became a public case. My parents sat in silence at home. No more proud messages. No more smug support. My mother stopped calling. My father stopped pretending. The family group chat went quiet. Because gossip is easy, until the consequences show up wearing a badge. Then came the morning everything changed. I was drinking coffee when my phone rang. My lawyer. His voice was calm, but sharp. They've issued a formal summons, he said. For your sister. My stomach turned. Is she being arrested? Not yet, he replied. But the court wants answers. I exhaled slowly. And then he added, one more thing. What? They want you there. I arrived at the courthouse like a stranger walking into someone else's nightmare. My sister was already there. Sitting stiffly. No makeup. No confidence. No arrogance. Just fear. She looked up when she saw me. And in her eyes, I saw something I never thought I'd see. Regret. Not because she hurt me. But because she finally understood. She lost. My parents arrived next. They looked like they'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. My mother avoided my gaze. My father walked slower than I remembered. Like pride had physically weighed him down. They sat behind my sister. And for the first time, they weren't supporting her. They were trapped with her. The judge entered. The room rose. And my sister's entire world held its breath. The case wasn't about the house anymore. It was about fraud, misrepresentation, attempted unlawful transfer, financial deception. My sister's lawyer stood first. He tried to paint her as confused, desperate, a daughter trying to help her family. The judge listened, then turned his eyes toward me. Did you authorize this sale? I answered calmly. No, Your Honor. My sister flinched. The judge continued. Did the defendant have permission? No. Silence. Then the judge asked the question that ended everything. Did she know she lacked permission? My lawyer stood and held up the letter. The trust document. The protections. She knew, he said. She knew because the trust clearly states ownership restrictions. My sister's lawyer tried to object. But it was too late. The truth was already standing. Then the judge looked directly at my sister. Why did you do it? Her lips trembled. She whispered. I thought I could fix things. The judge's voice remained cold. You don't fix debt by stealing inheritance. My mother inhaled sharply. My father's hands shook. My sister began crying silently. And the judge's next words hit like a hammer. This court will not tolerate financial fraud hidden behind family. Outside the courtroom, my sister collapsed into my mother's arms. For once, my mother didn't comfort her. She looked at her like she was seeing her clearly for the first time. You destroyed us, my mother whispered. My sister sobbed. I didn't mean to, but my father finally spoke. His voice was hollow. You were willing to sacrifice your sibling. My sister froze. He continued. And we let you. My mother's eyes turned to me. Her face twisted with shame. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't answer. Because apologies don't rebuild years. 2 days later, the final blow arrived. The trust board issued an official statement. The house was permanently secured under my name. No future claim, no contest, no family override. My grandmother had sealed it like a vault. My lawyer handed me the final paperwork. It's done, he said. No one can ever touch it again. I nodded slowly, and felt something strange. Not victory, not joy, relief, like I could finally breathe. But my sister's punishment wasn't over. Because consequences don't stop at court. They ripple. Her startup, the one she hid her debt behind, collapsed within a week. Investors pulled out. Banks froze accounts. Partners vanished. The same people she tried to impress now avoided her like poison. She called me one last time. Her voice was quiet, almost unrecognizable. I lost everything. I didn't respond. She whispered. I thought you were weak. I closed my eyes. I wasn't weak, I said softly. I was silent. She swallowed. Do you hate me? I paused, then answered honestly. No. Silence. Then she whispered. Then what do you feel? I looked out the window. At the world she almost stole from me. I feel free. That night, I went back to the house. The porch light flickered. The air smelled like rain. I unlocked the door, walked inside, and stood in the quiet. For the first time, it didn't feel like inheritance. It felt like survival. My grandmother wasn't just giving me property. She was giving me proof. Proof that someone saw me, trusted me, protected me, when no one else did. I sat on the floor of the living room and whispered. They thought I was nobody. I smiled softly. They were wrong. Months later, my sister disappeared from the family. No invitations, no holidays, no forgiveness. Because betrayal like that leaves a scar too deep for pretending. My parents tried to reconnect with me. Slowly, awkwardly, not because they deserved it, but because they finally understood what they almost lost. And as for me, I didn't seek revenge. I didn't scream. I didn't destroy anyone with my hands. I simply stood still, while the truth did it for me. Because the house wasn't the real inheritance. The real inheritance was this. They tried to take my life apart. But in the end, they were the ones who fell.